1978. And I can remember it was kind of strange because this was at a time when color guard, all the musical performances were live. And most of the guards had either like the jazz band or the pep band from the school. And we were the only people there that was just percussion ensemble.
When I was in high school 20-some years ago, we counted 50 measures rest to ding on a triangle and then counted 100 more measures rest. And I'm sure that a lot of guys my age experience the same thing.
It was interesting because back when I taught, it was band uniforms and there were no tarps and very little pit ensemble, to be honest with you. And we played music and marched around, but I'm not so sure the two had much to do with each other.
By the mid-'80s, several high schools and universities began hosting regional contests that had grown in popularity.
We used to always have to do out-of-state shows, going down to Kentucky for the Morehead State Marching Percussion Festival, going up to Chicago for the Spartan contest. It just seemed like we always had to go out of state. We went down to Nashville one year for the Percussive Arts Society marching competition.
However, standard rules had not been defined for each competitive unit to follow.
In the 80s, we didn't really have anything to go to. We would go to the Morehead show, go to Glenbrook, and we had to change it every week for whatever venue, a tennis court, an auditorium stage, a basketball court.
There was inconsistency in the facilities, and the judges' sheets were always different. Wherever you went, the facilities themselves were always different. Like Morehead, you performed on a large tarp that had a tennis court painted on it.
But really it just got to the point where we were spending so much money and time and traveling to be able to compete once or twice, that enough people was like, hey, we need to get focused on doing something for us.
The formation of an Indiana indoor percussion circuit.
Although we probably have thought about it for many years, really doing it really took, when we finally all were ready to, we were in a position with the program, I was a director instead of just a drum tech. We didn't really have the ability to say, we're gonna do this. And so when we all kind of got to that point in our careers and lives, I think, a lot of the founding members, was like, yeah, we can do this. I said, well, we'll host a show and we'll invite people to come. Just come and do your marching band shows. It's about 2 or 3 weeks after the season, and we'll start. Driving to Illinois, I'm driving to Ohio, I'm driving to Kentucky just to compete in a show. Why don't I drive to Ben Davis or drive to Franklin Central or Center Grove? So I was like, hey guys, let's do something. So that's really motivated us to start the thing. The marching band show, but make it kind of cool looking and make it more fun for the kids. And when I started going through that process, I was like, this is really interesting because these guys are used to being, chain in the mouth and gritting your teeth and not look, and now they have to actually perform. They are the show.
IPA through the years.
How neat it is to that component of this, what we do, and it's, when it works, it's great. It's phenomenal. So we've watched it come full circle. We've watched it come from standing still in an arc, 8 on a hand, parking lot warm up for drum corps, to now, at its best, it's every bit as good as blast or rent or stomp or anything like that.
The level of maturity of movement, from just being able to mark time and step and play some beats, to moving it or focusing it. Hey, the snares are kind of featured, push them forward right here.
And you look at the kids today, and maybe even look at movement class from even just 5 years ago, or not even that long, and to look at some of the things that these kids do while they play their instruments, it's unbelievable.
Indiana is the only circuit that I know of that has 3 different divisions for concert class. I've had several students come back to me and they say, everything we did in indoor percussion prepared me so well for life.
I get a chance to judge a little bit in the fall and see these groups come out in the fall, and it's just like, oh my goodness, they've grown so much because when you get inside a gym and you get in front of judges and the people are right there, it's make or break time.
here are people moving and playing an instrument at the same time.
It's almost become percussive theater, and in some cases very much is percussive theater. At its pinnacle, every year we see 1, 2, a dozen different groups in the different classes, whether it's A, Open, or World, that as a judge I think meant I would pay to see that.
Why not bring an element of ballet or theatrical blocking or geometry? I mean, the things that we are able to teach the kids by focusing in on different things has been incredible.
The Indiana Percussion Association is focused on the educational experience it can provide for its membership through clinics, online ed zone, scholarship efforts, and a competitive indoor performance circuit. IPA hopes to expand those and other efforts in percussion education throughout the state.
Well, IPA's commitment to education is obvious through the website, through the education zone, some great articles written, interviews, exercises, things put up there by professionals in the community for students to go on, take a look at.
The Ed Zone, first of all, I think it's great. IPA not only providing an outlet for the students to perform, but obviously to fulfill the other side of that, which is to teach and to educate our instructors to not be afraid to share information, which I think is great. You know, it's part of one of the tricks of the trade of teaching is to share information, to share exercises, ideas, concepts, techniques, places to go to get things, a new way to tune an instrument to make it sound good inside. All good things. Helps the Indiana community. It makes us stronger, makes our group stronger, makes our kids stronger, makes us better teachers, and I think that's great.
Education has always been a concern for IPA. We wanted to have a circuit that was more than just about the contest.
And, you know, I think it's where IPA really excels. There's just a real holistic thought process about what are we going for and how can we present that to kids, and it starts from the top and is clearly all the way down, and that's the best part about this. And you know the kids get a ton out of it, and I feel like I do too, and that really is something very cool.
It's not just the number of groups, but the amount of other things that they do, the website that they have, all the training that I've come in to do the last few years, and it's always great to work with those other instructors and judges for IPA. There seems to be a lot of hunger to be better.
And I know there are things that have happened at the clinic, on the clinic day, that our kids had never seen before and may never see again, again.
We have a judges clinic day where we actually educate the people that are going to be judging these kids. I think that's very important. IPA, not every circuit has that, and IPA believes strongly in it. We have people from all over the Midwest that travel to that clinic just to get trained, and they take that back to their own circuit.
So that's the place for percussion education.
The music, the visual, the pageantry. The Indiana Percussion Association.
I used to say this about IPA. I don't know if I can get the words correct, but you get the general idea. See the excitement, hear the excitement, feel the excitement, and be part of the excitement.
IPA has meant everything. It really has. It's just been, very fulfilling for me, and it's great to see my students grow up and do what they want to do later on in life. So
Kids, when I recruit kids too from the 8th grade or whatever, that band's not easy, drumline's not easy, but it is incredible.
I don't know.
Makeup.
We say there's nothing else like it.
You got to see it and hear it to believe it.
To steal, like I said, from a great ensemble that I was a part of, is truly an experience of a lifetime.
You can't compare it to an athletic event.
The process is just a lot of fun.
It's something totally different.
Without being too catchphrasy, IPA is the total percussion experience, I think.
There's a lot of pressure.
Makeup.
Pressure.
Yeah, right.
Where's Rusty at? He's so eloquent at saying.
He already.
Quite frankly.
This video